Hey, welcome. Today I'll be reviewing Max Payne 3. Now I can't forget to mention that the Max Payne series is the father of all games with bullet time. It really made a big impact on some games out there that use this concept. Now let's start with the most important thing, the gameplay and mechanics. Let's talk about bullet time, one of the most important mechanics in the game. With bullet time you can slow down time so that you can shoot people. Bullet time really helps you because it's a lot easier to aim while having time slowed down for you. With bullet time you've got a shoot dodge combo that you can trigger using the space bar. Yeah, no, that's weird. I thought space is used for jumping, but oh well, it turned out to be for shoot dodge. Now shoot dodge is when you use bullet time and you also dodge. That's basically it. But you can do some really cool shit with it. In previous games especially it was really OP, but now I found myself not using it as much because of one thing, that is collisions, because the game is made to be realistic and whenever anything scratches the hand of Max Payne, you become like a ragdoll and you're very vulnerable and you just sit there on the floor. So that's one reason why I really didn't use it so that much. Like in previous games it was a lot more useful. Now it just didn't hit the spot. Oh yeah, also whenever you kill the last person in a part of a chapter, you get a cool shot that tracks the bullet and you have a checkpoint, which is really cool. Kinda unnecessary, but really cool. You can also slow down time and keep on shooting, which is also unnecessary. Now the shooting in this game is pretty much hit headshots and you're good. If you don't hit headshots, you're not playing the game right. Like, the point of bullet time is to have an easier time shooting, and if you don't hit the headshots, it's going to be a lot harder to kill anything. Some of the enemies later on in the game have armor and shit and you have to shoot them like 10 times. It's better just shooting for the head and they're done. Oh yeah, some of them got helmets, and when they have helmets you gotta shoot them in the head twice. Sometimes a bit more, but most of the time just twice in the head and they're done. Now let's talk about weapon accuracy. In this game, unlike 1 and 2, the guns are very accurate. When you put the crosshair on their head, it's probably going to hit the head. Now this was a big problem in the other two games because the shots never went where you wanted them to go. So I'm really happy about this change. There were also a lot of cool shooting cutscene like moments. There are really cool details to the game that I didn't see in the other games, and I really enjoyed it. You really feel like a badass whenever you're in those shooting scenes. Now there's also voting, which you can trigger with E, and rolling, which you can trigger with F. I personally never used them unless I had to. Rolling I never used in any serious situation, voting only whenever I had to jump over something. Now, there was something in this game that was melee kills. And they aren't really melee, but whenever you go up to somebody right in front of their face and you click to shoot, Max does a cool looking animation and you can shoot them, and it's really cool. I used it like 2 times, but I liked it. Also, unlike the other 2 games, there's no grenades in this game. They really would have helped you in some situations. Like, things could have been so much easier sometimes if you had grenades, but they didn't add them, so that's unfortunate. In this game, you can take cover, probably a concept you've seen in a lot of games. Now, cover is mostly useful. You're going to need to use it most of the time, since if you go out of cover and you just rush them straight on, they can shoot you down instantly and you're dead. Sometimes there's places that seem like you can shoot through them, but you really can't, and it's kinda weird, but other than that, cover is really good. Now when you're in cover, you can use blind shooting, probably again a concept you've seen before in games. Now I never used it because it's very useless. You don't see your crosshair and it's bullshit. Oh yeah, you can sometimes destroy cover, like you can destroy wooden cover. Now the AI in this game is mostly very smart, to be honest. It's one of the smarter AI I've seen. Like, they almost always do the smart thing, and whenever they get the opportunity, they will shoot you down. There are some bugs with the AI. Whenever some enemies take cover, you can see their heads popping out, and it's quite obvious that you can shoot them, but somehow they don't notice and they're just standing there. Also, like I mentioned, you can shoot down cover. Yeah, you can shoot down their cover and they become dumb for some reason. They can't think of everything, okay? That's not that big of a problem. Now the difficulty in this game I think was perfect. I played it on normal, although sometimes it felt hard, like it gave you a challenge. It's not like you're going to pass everything without ever dying. Unless you're really good. Sometimes you need a few attempts to get something right. Now about health. You've got a health bar that looks quite big, but you get killed in 3 shots. That really sucks sometimes. You think you have a lot of health, you really don't. The way to restore your health is through painkillers. Painkillers that you find when you play. Now, sometimes they can be so hard to find and I really hate it, but they're the only thing that saves you from dying. Also, you've got Q revives. Whenever you have painkillers on you and you die, if you shoot the person that killed you, you revive with like half your health or something. So Q revives are a really cool thing that saved me a lot. And painkillers, yeah, they save me a lot. Although they're hard to find. Oh yeah, the other way to restore health is whenever you die completely and you go to the latest checkpoint. Now, as I previously mentioned, you get checkpoints after you clear part of a chapter. You get like 10 checkpoints per chapter. Now, there's also collectibles in the game. You have the golden guns that you search around in every chapter, and there's like a few parts of them scattered around. You also have clues. I thought you're supposed to get them every time you have the opportunity to continue the story, but it seems like they kinda act like a collectible. I personally didn't bother searching specifically for clues. Also, I couldn't finish a single golden gun by the end of the game, but it wasn't my main priority. I got clues in golden guns whenever I saw them, but I never specifically searched for them. Now let's take a look at the weapons. We start with the weapon wheel. You can have 2 light weapons and 1 heavy weapon at a time. You can also dual wield the light weapons. And here comes a big problem that I had in the game. Now, I mentioned that the game is realistic, right? So, Max has to hold on to the heavy weapon whenever he has one. And if you decide to dual wield 2 light weapons, you have to drop the heavy weapon. Now, I really hated that. Although it was realistic, you have to hold on to your weapons. At first I was confused at how the weapon wheel worked. But then I understood how it worked and realized that it kinda sucked. Oh yeah, you know, so you get used to throwing away weapons. You get new ones all the time. Now let's check out the light weapons. We've got pistols. We have a basic pistol that you have all the time. It's the type of a pistol that you wouldn't think is strong, but if you hit your headshots, they're dead. Remember how I mentioned hit your headshots? Yeah, it works with every weapon, even the basic pistol. So it's quite realistic because if you get hit in the head with any weapon, you'll probably die. I use the basic pistol a lot when I dual wield it. So yeah, I do like it. Now we've got the revolver. I really didn't like the revolver in this game. It was really underwhelming, to be honest. I thought it would be stronger, but no. That's why I barely used it. Next up for the light weapons, we've got the SMGs. And I can remember only one SMG. It's the basic SMG. And I used that a lot. I used it a lot and I liked it a lot. It's perfect for dual wielding with the pistol. Plus it was a lot of fun hitting headshots with this thing. Now after the light weapons we've got the heavy weapons. And first up are assault rifles. First we've got the basic rifle that I used a lot. I don't even remember its name. It was really good, not gonna lie. Next up we've got the M4. Yeah, barely used that because most of the time I used the basic rifle. Then we've got the Kalashnikov. I can only remember it in one chapter. And it was a flashback chapter. That's when I used it and I was hyped about using it. But then we didn't even see it again. That kinda sucked. I would have preferred the Kalashnikov over a basic rifle, but okay. There was one cool weapon with a scope that destroyed everything, but it was exclusive to only one chapter. I really wish I could have used it more, but it is what it is. After the assault rifles we've got the shotguns. And first up is the pump action shotgun. Now, in previous games I used to use the pump action a lot more, but in this game I didn't like something about it. Like something was missing and I really ended up not using it a lot, and I used dual wielding and rifles. Yeah, the pump action was underwhelming. Next up is my favorite weapon in the game, the Spas. This weapon is so amazing. It shoots incredibly well at close range, obviously. It's fast. Yeah, it's not a long range weapon, but it can shoot up to middle ranges and still one shot sometimes. It was really awesome, yeah. One problem with it was that it was quite rare. I remember using it like 3 or 4 times only, but it's still my favorite. After that we've got the snipers. And there's only one sniper in the game. That's a Dragunov-like, which is a semi-auto sniper. I mean, yeah, it one-shots whenever you hit the head. Sometimes it one-shots whenever you hit the chest. It's also a semi-auto. But it's really underwhelming whenever it's not a bolt action sniper. And there is no bolt action sniper in the game. I feel like that's a given for every game to have one, but I guess not here. Now there were also 2 LMGs that were really cool and did a lot of damage, but they were both used only once. and they didn't have a lot of ammo, but they were still very awesome and very cool to use. We've also got the grenade launcher and the rocket launcher, which were also exclusive to one chapter only. The grenade launcher was in the final chapter and was really cool to use, and with the rocket launcher you had only one shot to kill a tank. Yeah, underwhelming. Now for some of the weapons we've got weapon attachments, and I really didn't like them. I mean, I only noticed that there are laser sights and red dot sights. There might have been more. Those are the ones that I noticed, and I really didn't like them because they make your crosshair disappear and you have to look through, and my aim became really shitty whenever I used those. Some people might like them, I'm not one of them though. Next up, the length of the game. So the uncut length of the game for me was 8 hours. For the average player it will be about 10 hours, and for people that want to get all the collectibles, we'll probably have to make 2 or 3 reruns, and they're going to need probably 20 to 30 hours to complete the game. I took the data from How Long to Beat. So the game isn't open world, so there is no side quests in the game. You follow the game through its 14 chapters, and each of them are very unique. Now the chapters are mostly straightforward, and sometimes you can feel like they're quite linear. I can remember, for some reason, the Panama Canal level was memorable for me. Like, I remember having a lot of fun playing it. That might have been also because I got to play with the cool scoped assault rifle. Now Max Payne 3 kept something from the previous games that I found really cool. There was always a chapter or two where everything was burning. And there was also one in Max Payne 3. We've got another thing kept, and that was one of the boss battles against Pacmeyer. You had to use the environment to kill him. And now we've reached the part that I really dislike about Max Payne 3. And it can definitely ruin the game for some people. And we're talking about cutscenes. There is so many cutscenes in this game. There are just too many. Sometimes you forget that it's a game and not a movie. I can definitely find people that really dislike it only because of the cutscenes. It really chops up the gameplay too much. It's really unnecessary sometimes. I'm not talking about the parts that are needed. You obviously need some cutscenes that make sense and you need them to understand the story. That's a thing in almost every game. I'm talking about the unnecessary cutscenes. I can remember so many cutscenes where Max was just walking into an elevator, walking out of it, and they spend 2 minutes doing that. Or he hits a button. Another 2 minutes of cutscene just because he hit a button. Sometimes he goes through a door and it gets interrupted by a cutscene. Oh my god, it's really fucking annoying. I can remember some cutscenes that are just a walking simulator. What the fuck's the point? They spend money on it just to make it more annoying for the player. What the fuck, Rockstar? I can definitely see how cutscenes can ruin this game for somebody. And I really don't like saying this because I really enjoyed the game. But it had to be said. I just can't skip over it. It's a big problem. Now that I'm done talking about the cutscenes, I can at least say that thanks to the cutscenes, the storytelling was very good. And in this game, because it's newer, they made it with cutscenes like most other games do. But yeah, they also have the panel looking time freezes that are there to kind of remind you of the light novel panels from the previous games. To be honest, the animation for the cutscenes was very good and clean. I'm talking better than most nowadays games. That's how good it is. But still, most of the cutscenes themselves are a big waste. Talking about animations, the animations in the gameplay, they're something else. Like I already mentioned before, the game is kind of made to be realistic, so some things are shitty because of that. For example, you have to kill somebody to revive yourself, but Max is facing the other way, and so is his gun, and he can't turn around in time, and so you die. Those things sucked sometimes. Now thanks to the cutscenes again, there was a lot of dialogue in the game. A lot of it was interesting, but sometimes I couldn't follow it, to be honest. That was mostly due to me not paying attention. There were also some monologues Max was having. Some of them were really awesome. I can remember one time when he was shot, he was having this one long ass monologue. It was quite interesting. I really can't forget to mention how awesome the voice actor of Max Payne, James McCaffrey, was awesome. Now let's talk about the music. The music was great, it really boosted up the atmosphere whenever it was needed, and added that extra something that sometimes even made you anxious. Or whenever there's epic music you feel badass. Now about the graphics. They are awesome for a 2012 game. Everything was incredibly detailed. But there's one big but. There were a lot of flashy and distracting effects. At first I thought that they were an effect because he was taking pills and alcohol, but it continued even later on the game, when he had already stopped taking them. This made no sense. That just meant they were there for the game to look better. And it really didn't. They were distracting, sometimes even annoying. Other than that, the graphics were great. Now let's talk about the characters themselves. First up, we've got the main character, Max Payne himself. Max's personality hasn't really changed much from previous installments, except the fact that he has hit the rock bottom of his life. He's still the crazy American that is always knocking at death's door. Now, to be honest, he's dumber in this game. He really needs somebody to explain to him everything. Yeah, I also sometimes didn't follow through everything, but he used to be more badass in previous games, and now he just feels dumb in some situations, and his impulsiveness sometimes leads him into bad situations. Next up, we've got the Branco family, which consists of Rodrigo, the businessman, Victor, the politician, Marcelo, who is always partying, Fabiana, Rodrigo's wife, Giovanna, who is Fabiana's sister, and also Passos' lover. And then we've got Passos, my favorite character. Although he made some questionable decisions, I can't bring myself to hate him. Then we've got the Comando Sombra, also known as the CS, with Serrano as their leader. They're a bunch of thugs, most of them poor, and there's a lot of them. Like we're talking thousands. Then we've got the Crusher Preto, also known as the CP, with Neves as their leader and Milorego as his right hand man. They're a bunch of well-equipped ex-cops and ex-soldiers. They've got armor and shit, and they're really hard to kill if you don't hit them in the head. After that, we've got the Special Forces, also known as the UFE, with Becker as their leader and Bachmeier as their right hand man. They're also really well equipped, and they're the shoot on sight type of soldiers, who when they see thugs they shoot them. And now let's go to the story itself. The story actually differs from the first two games, which for some is good, for some is bad. I'm kinda neutral about it. Also, some of the things that happen at the end did cross my mind, so you could say it was a little bit predictable, but some things were really unexpected and really weird. So, Max is an ex-American cop. His wife and baby got killed and he wanted revenge. After he got his revenge, he became a detective and worked with Mona Sachs, a contract killer, to solve conspiracies. After she gets killed as well, he gets revenge for her too. That's basically the summary of the first two games, and I didn't really go into detail. 9 years later, he has retired from the NYPD, moved to Hoboken, New Jersey, and has developed an addiction to painkillers and alcohol. At a bar, he meets his acquaintance Raul Passos, who hopes to recruit him for a private security job in Brazil. Although Max initially didn't want to, he agreed to accompany Passos. Max and Passos worked for the wealthy family of the Brancos, made up of 3 brothers, Rodrigo, the businessman, Victor, the politician, and the always partying Marcelo. Rodrigo and his wife Fabiana are kidnapped by Comando Sombra, a street gang, but Max saves them quickly. After a chain of events, the story gets darker and darker. If you want to see more, you should play the game yourself or watch my series on the channel. Now for the conclusion. Max Payne 3 is a very good game that is definitely worth checking out, although it has some flaws in it. I would personally rate it a very good 8 out of 10. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe to see more, and see you again next time.